This meeting is being recorded.
Awesome, great. So we are live now, and I see the audience trickling in. So I have some people in the room already, but I think it's slow to connect. Zoom takes some time before everyone can connect. Those of you who are in this room right now, a quick audio check. Are you able to hear me? So if in the chat window, if you can just say yes, no, uh, my voice is not clear, whatever the issue may be, just let us know if you're able to hear me clearly or not. Okay, yes, I see the yeses coming in. Great. Thank you for those conversations. Thank you for those confirmations. Also, please let us know the city you're dialing in from. So we have registrations from around the world today. I want to get a feel of where the audience is coming from. So those of you who are in this room right now, let us know the city that you're dialing in from. So I see Akshay from Surat, Gujarat. I see Sadhna from Pune. I see Sarang from Kannur, Kerala. I saw someone from Pune, Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai. I see someone from Jakarta. Okay, welcome Sabrina. Thank you for joining us. I see Susmita from Bangalore, Karnataka, Nagpur, Bangalore, Kerala, uh, Khandwa, Madhya Pradesh, okay, Vadodara. Anyone else dialing in from outside of India? I see Ronak from Ahmedabad. All right. I think Zoom is taking some while to connect. We are expecting many more people to come into this room, so I'm going to take one more minute before we start. I saw someone from UAE as well, and all right, great. So we have around 50 people in this room. I'm expecting many more to come in eventually. But let's get started. Let's not take more time. Today's is a very interesting session. We are speaking to the HKU MBA team as such and alumni. In fact, 4 alumni. And Renee also works with the admissions team at HKU. So we're going to speak to all of them. We're going to understand more about the unique features of the HKU MBA program. Personally, I have worked in the higher education industry for a very long time. My name is Sanjay Dhingra. I'm the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer at Seed Global Education. We are a firm which facilitates such interactions between top B schools, engineering schools with candidates, prospective students like yourself. Uh, in my personal case, I've spent the last decade in the higher education space. I was with the Indian School of Business where I handle international outreach and marketing. And I would say this from that particular experience that I have never seen a more unique program. So the HQ MBA program is truly unique in a particular aspect, and we are going to talk about that very shortly with the HKU team. But before I do that, before we start the conversation with them, let me quickly run our two polls for the evening, right? The first poll that I have, which I'm going to go make it live on the screen very shortly. Okay, you should be able to see it on your screen right now, which is, according to you, which all tracks does the HKU MBA offer? So is it the Singapore track, London track, Hong Kong, China track, Seattle track, Toronto track, New York track? Or if you don't know, then that's an option as well. Let us know, according to you, which tracks does the HKU MBA offer? And this is a multi-choice question, so you can select multiple options. Just a hint over here, for those of you who don't know this, HKU MBA offers 3 tracks. So there are 3 unique tracks as such. So that's a hint. When you're selecting options, you can go up to 3 options logically. So let us know, according to you, which of the following tracks does the HQ MBA offer? I'm going to keep this poll live for another 15-20 seconds. So if you haven't responded, please do so. Let us know the tracks, according to you, which all tracks does the HQ MBA offer? Okay, I see around 50 responses that have come in. So I'm going to end this poll and share the results now. And let's see if you have got this correct or you're off the mark completely. So I see 33% who said the Singapore track, 60% said the London track, 60% said the Hong Kong China track, and there were 35% that said the New York track. So some are correct, some are obviously wrong. I can see the complete split if you selected all the 3 correct options. But the actual 3 tracks which the HQ MBA offer are the London track, the Hong Kong/China track, and the New York track. So these are the 3 tracks which the HQ MBA offers. It is surprising to see that 33% thought of the Singapore as a track, 17% thought of Toronto as a track, 6% thought about the Seattle track. So you're a little off over here, but this session should clarify all of your doubts about this. Sorry, I hadn't shared the results. Now you'll be able to see those on the screen. So as I said, 60% said the London Hong Kong track, 35% said the New York track. So some were correct, some were wrong. But with that, let me go into the next question for the evening, now that you know what are the 3 tracks. So the 3 tracks which the HKU MBA offers are the London track, Hong Kong China track, and the New York track. With that, let us know which track is of most interest to you. If you're able to see the poll on the screen, let us know which track appeals to you the most. So there's a London track, there's a New York track, there's a Hong Kong, China track. So along with the HKU MBA, in the one-year program, you can also study either in the London track, which is with the London Business School, or in the New York track, which is with the Columbia Business School, or in the China track, which is with Fudan University. Is that correct, Renee?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I got that correct then. So let us know which track appeals to you the most. Okay, I'm going to keep the poll live for another few seconds. So if you haven't responded, please do. All right. I see around 60 responses that have come in. So let me end the poll and share the results. So around 56% of the audience are interested in the London track. There are 36% who are looking at the New York track and 8% who are looking at the China/the Hong Kong track. So great. Thank you for letting us know. With that, we are going to kickstart this session. I'm going to hand over the audience to Renee to take us through her presentation. She is going to tell you more about the various tracks which the HKU MBA offers. So learn more about that from Renee. And then we are going to get into a Q&A and a panel discussion with the three alumni, which is Komal, Mushir, and who am I missing? Vibhav. So we're going to speak with all three of them, understand their experiences during the HKU MBA as well. But first, let's understand from Renee about the program structure and the unique features of the HKU MBA. Over to you, Renee.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Hello, everyone. My name is Renee, and as Sanjay introduced, I myself is also an alum of the Hong Kong MBA, and I've joined the marketing and admission team as well. So now to make things nice and simple, I'll give you a brief introduction about the full-time one-year MBA program. Before I start, I want you to keep in mind a few questions. It helps you reflect and then think about why you would like to get an MBA, where you should get it, and when is a good time. Let's start with why. So there are different reasons. A lot of applicants and students, they have been talking to me. There will be some career high flyers who have been working for 2-3 years. They have their mindset. They want to polish their management and leadership skills, getting themselves prepared for the senior management. And also there are some people who have been working for 6-7 years, kind of like some of them just want to get themselves prepared for the next leadership role. Some of them may hit the career bottleneck, wanting to switch field, industry, or like job function. The other, it could be like they've been working for 10-15 years in the career. They just want to unlearn the knowledge and then learn something new to refresh their mind. No matter what your reasons are, like getting an MBA is always like keeping yourself like new and then learn more new skills, expanding your professional network, and then talk to like-minded people. If you're having your own business as well, you can meet the different business partner. And now where to do your MBA, or maybe I should put it, why Hong Kong? Hong Kong is an international financial hub, so we know that a lot of multinational corporations, they have their regional headquarters set here. You don't have to worry after you graduate, there will be plenty of job opportunities. And also it's a gateway into the Chinese market. A lot of companies, when they want to step in like the Asian market, wanting to do business with China, they will start in Hong Kong because our legal system here is very robust. And we know that China is very like having Hong Kong and the other special administration ready for the Greater Bay Area strategy. A lot of capital will be flowing this side. So you know that it's Greater Bay Area. This is a strategy of China. They want to keep this as an economic development engine. So you don't have to worry about like job opportunities, and capital is like a lot in Hong Kong. And when would be a good time? As I was mentioning, a few of you may be like having your mid-career, you want to get yourself prepared to be a future leader, or actually you are a business owner, you have a few ideas, you want to meet like-minded people and then maybe have some collaboration, expand your network in Asia. It is a good start to have your MBA in Hong Kong so that you can expand your next step, like from here, and then change your industry as well. So we always ask the applicants, don't focus too much on ranking. Although Hong Kong U has been doing really well around the world, we have 111 years. We just celebrated it in March. So we know that over a century, the University of Hong Kong has nurtured over 275,000 of alumni. 1/10 of them are coming from the Hong Kong U Business School. We have been widely ranked and recognized by different media. I can show you in the next slide so that you know where our rankings are. And the network, as I mentioned, there are so many alumni and graduates over the years. There are different faculties as well. Apart from the Hong Kong U Business School, there's the legal department, there's a law school, faculty of engineering, education. So I always tell the applicants, like, we know that you want to work hard academically, but while you're in Hong Kong, don't forget to network hard as well, because you never know the next person you're talking to. It could be your future business partner, your employer, it could someone you play sports in the playground. It could be a future doctor, an engineer, an architect. So make sure while you're here, make sure you meet a lot of people and expand your network. As I said, we just celebrated our 111th anniversary in March. So over the century, there is a lot of renowned alumni being nurtured by the University of Hong Kong. And the ranking around the world, we have been ranked #1 by QS World University in 2023, #1 in Hong Kong, number 21 in the world. And QS also ranked us #3 in Asia. And there's another ranking by the World University. They also give us #1 in Hong Kong, number 31st around the world. And there's also one ranking I would like to bring to your attention, that is the graduate employability ranking. We've been ranked top 10 around the world. That means a lot of employers, they love hiring graduates from Hong Kong U because they know that the standard, our teaching standards and our graduates' quality is really good. Now, the University of Texas in Dallas also give us the business research ranking. We are #1 in Asia and #5 in the world for finance research. And again, #1 for finance in Asia. So we know that the Hong Kong U Business School, we have been doing well. So not just academically for the general school, but especially the business school. Now, these rankings are for our MBA program. We have been consistently being ranked top in the different ranking media agencies. Like The Economist, they have ranked us 10 times #1 in Asia for our full-time MBA. Wall Street Journals also ranked us as #1 in the world for top-tier one-year MBA degree. And you can see that QS and POETS and Quants, these are websites for MBA aspirants like yourself. They will refer to this website to do some research before applying to different schools. So QS ranked us #3 as the highest 10-year ROI MBA. And POETS and Quants, they are getting the ranking from different media. So consistently, we have been ranked #1 in the world and #14 by POETS and Quants. Hong Kong, you have our own Asia Case Research Center. Why we are focusing this? Because our learning approach, we are using case studies. So we're not asking you sitting there passively and waiting for professor to feed you the knowledge. Rather, we would give you the actual cases, which is prepared by our own professor and top tier scholars around the world. Let's say Harvard University, Duke University, London School of Economics, etc. So they will be using either international brand, how they break into the Asian market, or Asian brands, how they go into the international stage. I can share with you more cases in the next slides. So as I said, we are learning in a case-basis approach. So everything you learn will be very practical and you can use it. You can apply these knowledge very easily in your job. And also the student diversity. Hong Kong U MBA full-time is a very small and intimate group. Every year, we take around 50 to 60 students for each batch. They are from around 18 to 25 regions. It varies year by year. So you know that who you will be talking to, you will be having these discussions. It will be people from all over the world. And then they are with different industry knowledge that you can share and discuss with each other. The cases I just mentioned, so it would be Asian brands like Uniqlo. We want to know that how they break into the international stage, a supply chain going global. Or the other way around, like Starbucks, we know is a well-known international brand. When they enter the China market, they have to manage the growth. They have to learn the local consumers' habit. So how they managing growth through innovation. What about comparing the two, Uber and Didi? These all are like the hailing the taxi app. So what about the international brand like Uber when they enter the Chinese market? Or how about Didi as a Chinese brand? How can they break into the Latin America, like expand so well in Mexico? So the race of China's ride-hailing markets, just to compare these two brands in the local Chinese market or how they have been doing internationally. So these are just some examples for you to know that what you will be learning throughout the course. And as I said, because the group will be a small and intimate one, so when you do your own case studies, you read your cases at home, it will be like studying individually. Then your learning stage will change when you're discussing the case with your classmate. Sometimes you will be grouping in with like 5 or 6 students, and then you present a project. And lastly, of course, you will have your capstone project. It's almost like your graduating projects. We are not asking you to write a very long dissertation. So when you do the capstone presentation, using everything you learned throughout the MBA course to present to the professor what your ideas are, you will be presenting in front of a large group. Your classmate will challenge you with their own questions, and you will also be learning from their comments and review as well. And the teaching faculty, there are over 150 full-time faculty. So the professor and lecturers, they are from renowned universities around the world. So you know that you will be in good hands. Also, we've got some industry leaders and experts who've got practical experience. We've got executive from Google or previous CEO from Amazon. They will be sharing their industry knowledge with you. So you know that you are learning both from the faculty member, the professors, and also like industry practitioners who have like over 15 to 20 years in the industry. They could share their hands-on leadership experience, the success story behind a brand, or if it is a failing brand, what did they do? How did they turn around as well? This is just to give you an example, like who will be teaching you. We have our Professor Yuk Fai Fong. He is the Associate Dean specialized in Management and Strategy Economics. We've also got Mr. David Bishop. He's specialized in accounting and law, and he has been teaching our full-time student in terms of business ethics. And we've also got Professor Hei Wai Tang. He's specialized in economics, and he's also a director of the Asia Global Institute professor. So this is just to give you an idea. Also, there are the industry experts I was mentioning. So if you are familiar with the Asian markets, you may have heard about Professor Philip Chen. He is the former chairman of the Hong Kong Jockey Club and also a real estate Hang Lung Properties CEO. So he has been in the management position for so many years. He could share with you like how to deal with a PR crisis, like all of a sudden if you're being filmed and interviewed by a crew of a media, how should you stay calm and react? So these are all hands-on experience. And also Miss Virginia Morris, she's the former marketing director of Starbucks. So she could share with you all kinds of different marketing strategies, how Starbucks has been managing their brand, like when they enter the Japanese market or Korean market as a a foreign brand, like how to study consumers' habit before they even enter the market. And now it's about the curriculum. In this 1 year, it's a very intensive course. You will be finishing 10 core courses and then 6 electives based on your own interests. The 10 core courses and the electives are actually very Asia focused, so that you know that, as I mentioned over and over again, the cases, not just about international well-known brand, but also the Asian brands, like we have been talking about Sony. It has been doing well in the 80s and 90s. But what about now? Can they break through and innovate and get some new market positioning? There's also a China immersion program for those who are not from this area, this part of the world. We are teaching you about the sensitivity, how about like working with Chinese people in a business context, what you need to pay attention to. And also there are some fun bits, like we want you to learn about the Chinese culture and the Chinese cuisine. I'm sure our alumni will be able to share with you their own experience. And then there are 4 executive development workshops, because we have been talking to different employers and then a senior alum who holds an important role in a company. And they have been telling us what they are looking in an MBA graduates. They know that for hard knowledge, like accounting and finance, this is like the basic. But what they're looking for is something more. It's like how you can put together a business proposal effectively and communicate your message to the senior management team. So the business communication skills, or how can you lead a team effectively with different subordinates coming from a different cultural background. So a high performing teams. So these are all soft skills that the employees are looking into, like in MBA graduates, and we are giving you extra training in that. And Sanjay mentioned earlier that there are different tracks for our MBA student. So for the first 8 months, like from September to March, you will be staying in Hong Kong, finishing your 10 core courses. We talk about like the basic like accounting, corporate finance, economics. And then later for the last 4 months, you will be choosing your track, either going to London Business School or Columbia Business School. But if you want to specialize and learn more about the Asian markets, you can choose to stay in Hong Kong or go to exchange in Fudan University in Shanghai. So this is like a flexibility. We're giving you like picking different tracks. You will have to do it in your application stage, telling us which path you're going to, because there are different GMAT standard that you need to meet for that particular school. And then this is the 10 core courses I mentioned earlier. So apart from the basic like economics and finance, there are of course business ethics and then competitive strategy. And capstone is the one I mentioned. So no long dissertation, you don't have to write about it. So from the 9 core courses, everything you learn, you will put together and present with your classmate a capstone project, which is a real life business analysis report. And then other 6 electives you can choose out of your own interest. They are from 5 different essential themes like business, tech, and innovation. If you want to get more like in-depth finance knowledge, or like strategy and then managing in China and Asia. Also there, of course, like marketing and general management skills. So you can pick whatever that's you are having your interest in. The 4 executive development workshop I just mentioned to earlier. So it's like high performing team. How can you lead a team effectively? The business communication skills. Also, it's critical to have the problem solving and critical thinking skills. And then how to build your leaderships and presence and have your personal branding. These are all very important for an MBA graduate. And we are giving you extra training in terms of these 4 areas. There are also student-led club. We hope that you will be leading whichever like aspect that you are interested in. We have students who are very passionate about ESG. So both full-time and part-time students, they have been collaborating and then talking to industry leaders, like lining up different talks and sharing sessions so that your fellow classmate could learn more from the particular subjects that you are passionate in. Or Women in Leadership Club, we have a few students who are really passionate to like get more voices out for female leaders. So they have been talking to industry experts and sharing like what are the challenges and opportunities for being a female leader in Asia, and then how like what are the top tips like managing a job while maybe sharing the family role at home as well. So these are important subjects, and if you're interested in, we hope that you will lead the club and then participate in the activity as well. Now, there are different corporate partners project that the company actually having some ideas on projects, and they wouldn't wait until the summertime to hire an intern. Rather, throughout the year, they have been getting a few MBA students to work in these projects and different area. Let's say AXA Insurance, they have been asking our MBA student to work on an ESG Go Green projects. Also, like FinStep Asia, they're asking our student to do some fintech and blockchain research. And also Carousel is an online retail app. They have been asking our MBA student to participate and learn more about business strategy formulation. So these are just some examples, and we have got other, like with class of 2023, the current class, there are different brands apart from AXA Insurance. There are BCW, the consulting group, Namfeng Group, our store, and CLP is a local energy suppliers in Hong Kong. For the career and development training, you can make sure that our career team will be going through the whole journey with you from the very beginning, like get to know you more, having one-to-one consultation, learning about your career aspiration. Then there is also mentorship program connecting you with the industry experts, sharing their ideas with you, and then helping you to learn and grow throughout your path. And there will be also some internship opportunities and a learning and development talk as well. Now, this is just to give you an example, like throughout the year, even before your course starts, like in July, the career team will start like approaching you, like having some tips and giving you advice on your CV, learning more about you through Zoom if you're not in Hong Kong yet. Then during August, there will be an orientation program by the CDT team. They will try to tell you more about the recruitment, like the top 100 banking, finance, the companies. And then in September, when you arrive in Hong Kong and started your program, there will be a lot of company events and info session, making sure that you will be starting to think about your career, like building your leadership skills. And then in October, there are the executive coaching. They will try to match you with some mentors, like if you tell them which industry you have in mind after getting the MBA. Also, throughout the time, November time is your China immersion. You will be having your Hong Kong and China trip. We know that COVID is now, all the restriction has been lifting. So you will be able to go to China and have some company visit. Then in December time is almost like approaching to your time when you leave Hong Kong for either London Business School or Columbia Business School or Fudan University to exchange. So before you go away, the CDT team, the career training team will be with you, like having the regular update and internship opportunities. So you won't miss out while you go overseas to exchange. And then throughout April to August, of course, while you're away, there will be continual like virtual learning and development workshop and coaching session so that your career skills is well prepped, and then make sure that you will be ready for the market before you graduate. And one thing I want to highlight is the IANG visa. You will be able to stay in Hong Kong for 12 months without securing a job offer, because Hong Kong is really hoping to retain talent in the city. So the immigration policy is very welcoming. And in the media, we have heard that they would like to expand the IANG visa into 2 years. So by the time when you finish with us, you will be hearing more about this visa, and you will be able to stay in Hong Kong to look for a job. So this is a career report just to let you know that over 90% of our MBA students, they have secured their job offer. 81% has changed their job function. 94% secure their job in Asia, and 70% changed their job location. So this is just to give you an idea that our career team is really supporting you to achieve your dream job and career goal. This is just a partial list that to give you an idea who has been hiring our graduates. And then we have been doing all kinds of leadership talks. We haven't let COVID stop us. So while like physical workshop is not available, we have been holding online session. And when you can see it in the photo, we have been doing face-to-face sharing session, asking industry expert to talk about their experience with our MBA students. And there are other networking activities. We have been holding like a World Cup fun night, and then our students have been organizing tram parties and then networking drinks with the mentors and our alum around the world. And there are different international learning centers. So you know that joining the Hong Kong U Business School, you're not just learning the Asian knowledge, but there's a center in Tel Aviv and representative office in Vietnam. We know that it's like up and coming. They have the technology and innovation in those cities. And we are hoping we are bringing the international experience to our MBA students. Last but not the least is the admission criteria. There, we require you to have a bachelor degree with 2 years full-time experience, satisfactory GMAT and GRE score. If your degree is not being taught in English, the minimum score will be 80 for TOEFL, and then IELTS is like 6.5. Now, the next application deadline is on the 29th of December. So we hope that if you have your mind, to make sure that you submit your application on time. And if you want to know more, here's the QR code. You can talk to our admission team. Every Thursday, we will have a virtual chat. You can scan the QR code now and then register later. And now it's time to learn from our alumni. So I will stop sharing and then let our alumni to share their experience with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you for doing that. I'm quite sure the audience found this useful. They got some great insight into the program. We have 3 alumni, in fact, 3 more alumni besides Renee who are joining us in this session. So there's Komal, Vibhav, and Mushir. So Komal is from the class of 2017. Vibhav and Mushir are from the class of 2015. We're going to speak to each of the 3, but let me start with the introduction. So let me invite each one of them to do the introduction, tell you a little more about their journey so far and how their experience was during the HKU MBA. And we'll take more questions from them for them from there. So with that, Komal, over to you. Why don't you take us through your journey?
Sure. So I started with my HKU MBA in the class of 2017. And prior to my MBA, I basically had completed my chartered accountancy in India and I was working in audit. And I basically wanted to change my job functions away from audit, was one of my primary reasons to do an MBA. The reason why HKU sort of caught my eye was it brought together both the Eastern and the Western world of education together. So you are in Hong Kong, but you also got a chance to do different tracks. And I chose the London Business School track. So it gave me sight of how both sides of the world work. Post my MBA, interestingly, I did meet an LBS alum in London and I got a job there. So I started into internal audit in RSA Insurance. And within a year, I moved to risk advisory within EY. So I'm still currently with EY in their London, within financial services, and I'm London based. And I work in risk consulting and risk advisory.
Great. Thank you for that introduction. Vibhav, do you want to go next?
Sure. So my name is Vibhav. I'm currently based in Singapore. I'm from the class of 2015. And I'm currently working with the UPS, which is one of the world's largest logistics companies. So in my current role, I am the strategic partnership manager covering a territory which we call as EMEA, that basically includes all the way from Middle East till Australia, and all the countries that come in between. So I'm leading product introduction into this geographic area. From an MBA perspective, I was part of the London Business School trek, and the MBA experience was phenomenal. I very fondly look back on my HKU MBA experience. Starting with a month in Beijing, trying to learn Mandarin, and then moving to Hong Kong, spending a brisk 7 months there, and then we did a couple of career treks in which one of them was to Singapore, where I am currently, and then one was in Dubai, where my friend Mushir is, and then we went to London to complete our MBA. So it was a global experience in this true sense. Pretty happy with it.
Great. With that, over to you, Mushir.
Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you to the MBA office for having us here today. As was mentioned by Vibhav, I am in Dubai currently. We were classmates for the 2015 cohort, including for the London Business School legs. Unlike him, I did my career trek in Ireland, which we went while we were in London, while I understood Dubai for different reasons. In terms of my background, prior to the MBA, I had 9 years of experience in capital markets, where I came from an experience of trading in the US and European markets for one of the world's largest trading firms, including spending 3 years leading a team of 35 traders. Post the MBA, I worked in consulting for a year and a half with a niche consulting firm known as Basepath Partners, who cater to the large investment banks and trading firms, which includes the top 18 of the top 20 banks. Subsequently, I co-founded the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, going on to lead the association as its inaugural general manager for the first 3 years. Subsequently, I set up my own advisory and consulting firm, which is FinStep Asia. We had the fortune of working with students from the MBA school, but also collaborating on other aspects. Currently, I am working for the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority of Dubai, under the government of Dubai. My role here is to lead the market risk and investor protection function for the regulator. It's a full-time role that I have. And in addition to that, I have also had the opportunity to teach the elective on the impact of fintech on banking in Asia and otherwise for the MBA cohort. In terms of what we learned and other things, I'm sure we can have this conversation as more questions comes in. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bashir. Thank you for that. Just a quick audio check. I think your voice is not coming very clear, but I think we got most of it. We'll come back and do one more round and more information. But Renee, I want to bring you into this conversation as well. Why don't you take the audience through your background and your journey as well?
Right. Okay. When I joined MBA, I have already got 12 years of marketing and event experience. So I finished my whole journey in Hong Kong. So because I've got some international experience prior to coming back to Hong Kong, I want to expand my network locally. And that's why I joined the MBA program. And after that, I mean, I have met a different classmate, and it has been helping me, and the degree actually helped me to change my job function. So in terms of just organizing marketing and events, I do a bit more on business development and now like presentation as well. And that's why the school see my marketing and sales skills and asked me to join and promote the program.
Great. Thank you for that, Renee. And thank you to each one of you for your introductions. We do have a lot of questions coming from the audience, but I do have a list of questions which I had prepared, and I want to ask you some of those as well. The first question which I had for the three, Komal, Vibhav, and Mushir, the three of you came from India. And Hong Kong is not a traditional destination to be doing an MBA. A lot of students from India prefer going to the US, UK, Canada, Europe, elsewhere as well. What were your defining factors for choosing Hong Kong as your destination for an MBA?
Well, probably I'll go first. So Sanjay, you're quite right. When I started my MBA journey in the sort of the thought process, Hong Kong was not on the top of my list. I was looking at, probably going to a top 10 business school in the US or maybe even in Europe. And, but I had some good counsel that came my way. So I was speaking to the CEO of the company that I used to work in India. And, incidentally, he was very closely affiliated to, one of the top, almost a topmost business school in the US. And, he told me a simple, straight fact that, as long as you are, aim for the top 5 business schools in any continent, you are kind of set. You've made the right choice. And that kind of got me thinking on my MBA journey. And I knew even back in 2014 and 15 that Asia is the business hotspot of the world. And I did not want to give up my sort of the Asian advantage of having worked in India and being based in Asia to kind of transplant myself into another continent. So those were my key reasons why I started to look at an Asian MBA. And within that, HKU MBA came up basically at the top for me. I mean, as silly as it sounds, I went by rankings. HKU MBA was ranked #1 even back then. And the cherry on the cake, so to say, was the London track for me. I was deeply interested in London Business School, and just getting to spend time in HKU, which again, came from a fantastic heritage of over 100 years, and getting to be part of the whole London Business School experience. I think it just, was a great sell for me. On a separate note, I still remember, my dad, when he got to know that I'm applying for this program, I've got selected, he reached out to one of his colleagues in China. And he asked him, hey, my son got into this program. What do you think? And, his immediate reply was, oh, HKU, just go for it. Because, the HKU carries a huge reputation in North Asia.
I think that's very wonderfully summarized. I'm personally thinking that there's nothing more to add to this, but Komal, Mushir, if there's any other point you want to add to this, feel free. Otherwise, I do have an interesting next question for the two of you and Vibhav as well.
Go for it. Yeah. I'm
okay. So the question that I have for is the experience in Hong Kong as a city, right? Did you face any challenges living in the city? So language barriers, food choices, food options. I know there are lots of Indians over there. I've been to Hong Kong. It's a beautiful city, great infrastructure, great eating choices. But any challenges that you faced by being at HKU or being in Hong Kong?
I don't think we have, when I probably speak on all of their behalf, it's quite an inclusive city. So I don't think you would ever feel like you're, I know it's quite Chinese driven, but, most people still do understand English. You can get around very easily. You may not always get food everywhere, but more often than not, you will be able to get food as well. Especially when you come from India, you might find it a bit more expensive in general, but I think it just takes time for everyone to get used to different currencies and the standards of living. But I never really faced any issue in terms of settling in Hong Kong. I think everyone's quite friendly. And even coming back to, when we did have anything, simple things like opening, say, a bank account, and the MBA office were quite around and helpful, guiding us, settle down in Hong Kong. So it was quite easy that way.
Right. Now, to add, so from my perspective, I think three ways you look at your life in Hong Kong, right? One is your student life, then post your student life, your work life, right? And 3 becomes a social life if you stay back in Hong Kong. In terms of student life, a lot of people stayed close to the campus or close to what's called Kennedy Town Station, which is very close to the Cyberport main campus. And typically, you're moving around in groups, so your food issues, etc., are handled. As Kumal mentioned, Hong Kong has the British legacy, so you can, especially on Hong Kong Island, language is not that much of an issue. Even if people largely speak in Cantonese, they will have an English menu and you can ask for that. Right now, when it comes to cost of living, Hong Kong is among the most expensive places in the world, as Komal alluded, as would be the case if we went to a New York or to a Tokyo or Singapore. Right, and it's dropped in the cost of living. I don't know if you can call it standards or levels, but it's still very expensive. So, but you have to be aware of that. Space is going to be much tinier, so you need to adjust to that. That's probably one of the main things to look at. So that's from a when you're at school perspective, and you will obviously, because you have your cohort and your friends and others, there's a whole different ballgame. Once you graduate and you start working, etc., the challenges are more to do with you adjusting to work culture, right? It has a strong international base with many expats in most organizations that we work at, but there are nuances to the cultural differences. With the career office and others you meet, you will learn about the differences that exist in the East Asian culture, and it's not just like it's a broad brush. How people behave in, say, a Hong Kong company would be different to what the culture is in a Chinese company, as would be for a Korean or in an American company, right? If you haven't had that exposure to international organizations, you will see very different things happening to your classmates in an American organization versus your classmates in a British organization. Even then, right? So that exists. So you have to be aware. You have to adjust to that. It is very different to given that the predominant number of you are from India. That will be something that you'll have to adjust to. Number three, in terms of your social life, I've always said this about Hong Kong. It probably has the most balance you can find in the world, both from a nature perspective and social perspective, but it depends on you as an individual. What I mean by that is Hong Kong has some of the tallest skyscrapers in the world, but it also has 70% of the of Hong Kong's territory is either parks or lakes, right? So you have this greenery in there, and a lot of people enjoy the trekking, etc. So it's a great place, and you can be in a club in the center of Hong Kong, in a bar district, or you could be going into one of the many islands where there are temples. So there is a balance, but you need to find it. You can't sit in one place and get consumed by it. On the other side, and the flips, Hong Kong's extremely efficient when it comes to transport. My wife is from Hong Kong. I met her in Hong Kong, not through the MBA, but there, and her family and her have never owned a car, right? So that gives you an example of how people largely use public transport, efficient, and probably from a dollar value outside of even comparative sometimes to the cost in India when it comes to metro for short distances, and globally among the cheapest for public transport when it comes to bigger cities. So I'll pause there and add more later on. Thank you.
Great. That was extremely insightful, and good you touched about the cost of living. So with that, let me also bring in some audience questions over here, starting firstly with the cost of attendance and the cost of living combined. So, and then I'm going to segue into the scholarships as well. So I'm going to bring Renee into the scholarships picture as well. But to the three of you, right? Vibhav, Komal, Mushir, coming from India, adjusting to the cost of living, the higher standards of living in Hong Kong must have been a challenge. How did each of you fund your education? Was it through self-accruals? Did you take funding, loans from somewhere? How did you manage the entire expense? Komal, if you want to go first.
Yeah. So mine was obviously funded by myself and my family in terms of all of the tuition fees and living costs aspect of it. And I'm sure Rennie can touch on this a bit more because the scholarships sort of changed. But after I did, because I applied in the last round, which is I think somewhere around March time. And after I joined, there were options of still applying for scholarships. And I got through one of them. So that part of my fees was funded through that scholarship. Coming on to actual cost of living when you get there, and I suggest, I don't know, I haven't been to Hong Kong in almost 4 years now, so I don't know what the status is now, but I suggest everyone have a look at areas that you want to live in. Most of us, like Mushir said, we lived around Kennedy Town because it was easy to commute to both the campuses, so the Cyberport one, and if there were any that we were taking in the Admiralty one. I think it'll all depend on how how much you actually manage spending. Initially, it's a bit of a hit because we have this idea of converting everything back to INR. I think the longer you stay there, and I had the same thing when I was back in London, the longer you stay there, the more used to you get to, this is what it's going to cost. But I think in terms of it is a really expensive city. And, I don't know if anyone else did any of the other treks, but London is equally as much of an expensive city. So do take that into consideration. Look at where you want to stay and how accessible it is, or you're going to spend both time and money on traveling as well.
Interesting. Vibhav, what about you? How did you fund your education? I know it's been quite a few years now, but if you go back to those times.
Yeah, so I worked for almost 6 years before I got into my MBA, and so there was a small kitty that I had, and other than that, I maintained good relations with my dad. So that helped me through the MBA.
Mushir?
I like that good relationship with your parents, right? Very important when you're getting funded. So for me, it was partly self-funded based on my savings, and partly also based on taking a student loan in India. All right, so it was a mix of the two. I also had some family supporting me. You want to be mindful of two things when you're taking a loan from India. At least when we were 8 years ago, interest rates were quite high. We were looking at 12 to 14% interest rate. So when you get a job in Hong Kong, assuming you decide to have your career in Hong Kong like I did, Hong Kong interest rates are relatively much lower than in India. And once you have 3 months of experience, you would then be given up to 12x, so 1 year's salary or minimum loan, right? So quite a few of us ended up taking that loan from Hong Kong and closing out our loan in India. Now, this helps in two ways. One being, you're reducing your interest rate required payout, so your overall loan comes down. Number two is you're also reducing your conversion risk, right? Now, yes, the Indian rupee has been a little weaker in the recent past, so that does impact your cost of education, but when you are paying back, you are earning in Hong Kong dollars, so then you're able to pay back your loan in Hong Kong dollars rather than having to be concerned about the currency fluctuation. Now, if you have a call on the rupee weakening further, that's a different story, but this is what we did just from a practical purposes. Other challenges, is, as I said, your cost of living is expensive. It's well known. But you have to keep in mind not only to plan, and this is something that I was on the edge of, which is planning for your 12 months of your education. Include any auxiliary costs that you expect. I was in a hostel, so I had a certain cost, and then my eating costs were not significantly higher. That was all budgeted for. But also during your initial search for jobs, right? Depending on the market. Right? I was a trader, so when I came out of my job of the MBA, there was a massive global market crash, which impacted roles such as mine. Right? So I had to keep a buffer. But in general, I would suggest keeping a buffer for 3 to 6 months. For you, don't just plan very tightly for 1 year, and this would apply for any part of the world, given economic conditions globally. That's also the same issues I've heard from people in the US and in UK who were in our batch at the same time, which were impacted due to, in my field of capital markets and trading.
All right, so interesting, good advice over here. So keep a buffer, always have some buffer, and see, coming from India, moving to a market like Hong Kong, Singapore, London, New York, anywhere outside, the cost of living does feel a little daunting initially, but you need to get used to it, and that's what you're paying for, right? The whole experience over there. But Rennie, let me bring you in over here about the scholarship. So this is also the most upvoted question from the audience right now. The question was asked by Afshan Khan, who's asking, what are the scholarships available at HKU for the HKU MBA program, and any other sources of funding that the students can look for?
Thank you. So there is a merit-based scholarship available, and the applicant, they do not need to submit a separate application, because when they send in the application for MBA, their whole profile will be reviewed by the scholarship committee. So it's in a very holistic approach. It's basing on your current job experience. If you have left school very recently, like you've got 2 years full-time experience, we'll also look into your university and academic background, and also very importantly your interview performance. That's highly affecting whether you get the scholarship or not. Then a bit of a GMAT GRE score, it would help. And then the range, it could be from 25 to 60% of the tuition fee. So that's the merit-based scholarship. And then as Como said, sometimes when the course started, if you're doing really well, there are others like scholarship available as well that you could apply.
Great. Thank you for that. One interesting aspect that I noticed is that Komal, Vibhav, Mushir, all three of you did your tracks in London. And I understand there's some criteria around the GMAT score that plays a role in this. Would that be correct?
That would be a question for Renee, I guess.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So GMAT score does play a role somewhere or the other in that particular aspect. Okay. But coming to the next question, which I have from the audience. So thank you about the scholarship information, Renee. I think that's an important one. One thing which has come up, and one message to the audience over here. There are some questions in the Q&A window which I'm going to pick up, but you can upvote the questions asked by others. So upvote the questions which you think are relevant for you as well. Upvote those. This way I know which are the important ones, relevant questions, and I'll pick those up to ask our panelists for today. But the next question which is there, this is by Sarang, and it's a little political, but I'm still going to dig into it and go into this. So there are tensions arising between China and India. There are some border clashes happening. There have been some back and forths which have been happening for some time. Any of you, right? And you, of course, none of you are currently in Hong Kong. All of you are in different parts of the world right now. But from your experience of having lived in Hong Kong, do you see this as a point of concern or point that Indian students should be concerned about?
Probably I'm best suited to take that, given I was most recently in Hong Kong and also married to a Hong Konger. My take on this is straightforward, right? When you're looking at Hong Kong as a city, it is a special administrative city, but it's part of China. That's always been my approach to it. One of the reasons I decided to go to Hong Kong was its proximity to China and a hub for Chinese businesses beyond being a hub for the global market, right? So you need to be aware that there's obviously a significant impact of the Chinese economy and Chinese businesses when it comes to Hong Kong, both positive and negative, right? However, when it comes to this conversation around the geopolitics and its impact on Indian students, we did not face anything significant, if at all, right? For being Indian, my business with FinTech Asia has started off to be something that bridges Hong Kong and China through Hong Kong. India and China through Hong Kong for FinTech. But we had to change track due to what happened with the political situation. But that was an impact on the business, but not on me personally or anybody else. The way I look at it is you have many major countries that have geopolitical tensions, right? However, you have a significant number of Chinese nationals who are studying in the US as an example, or in the UK as an example, right? So I don't see that as an impact on Indian students as such, right? And I feel you will not necessarily have to face the challenges personally as Indians. Otherwise, if you're looking for a career, in fact, I would say there's beyond the Indians who have been there for a few decades, you have a good number of Indians involved in banking, in IT, and in the startup world in Hong Kong, and that's increasing, especially in the IT and startup world in the recent past.
Interesting. So thank you for that. And I think that captured it was a great, beautiful way of saying it, that you need to be cognizant that it's their the proximity to China has benefits as well. But there are so many Indians who live there currently, so many who work over there, so many Chinese students who study, live, work outside of Hong Kong as well. So I think it's a balanced thing, and take this into account, but it could be a great destination. As I said, I've been there multiple times and really enjoyed my time in that city as well. One question which has come up, and Komal, this has been targeted to you, but I want to open it up to the rest as well. The first one is, how did you crack your job opportunities post the program? So what kind of support did you get from the HKU Career Services team? And how did you crack your first jobs post your MBA? So Komal, I know you mentioned that you connected with an LBS alumnus when you were there, and that resulted in an opportunity for you. Vibhav, if you want to share, how did you crack your first opportunity? That would be great as well.
Yeah, so I think as important as it is to make sure, and especially with LBS, that you're doing your course as well, I did use a lot of the opportunity to network within the city. So LBS is also pretty strategically placed in the city. It's quite important on both, whether whichever track you are, and even when you're in Hong Kong, I think it's really important to network and interact with people who are actually working there, and that's actually going to release a lot of opportunities. You know how the job market will look like. You will understand what is it that they are looking for in terms of people that they want to hire, and what are the different things that are either happening in the market, or different things that different roles that people are wanting to fill at that point in time. uh, I basically had just, and I didn't go into that meeting specifically thinking this is going to convert into a job. I went into that meeting saying I want to make a connection with someone, and that ultimately ended up in a job offer. That was not to say that I met them for a coffee and they just gave me a job. I met him for a coffee, and he was basically the global chief audit executive, or however you call it. He's basically the third line equivalent of your CEO. But he made me meet a couple of people in his team, who I then went out, met over coffee, spoke about my previous experience, what am I looking for, how did HKU actually, what are the different things I learned from HKU, and how HKU has helped me build those transferable skills, as we call, to actually move into a different role. And then I went through a formal interview process, although that was basically on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, one after the other. But I did still have to go through a formal interview process. But I think they had, when you speak to these people, don't just go in and think about it as I want to land this job. Think about it as you're making a relationship that's going to last for a longer time than just a short-term view of this person is going to give me a job. And I think that went a long way in landing that first job. It was a different reason that I came from consulting as a background, and I moved to industry, and I thought it was quite slow. So I wanted to move back to consulting, is why I moved out of RSA and into EY. But, especially with alumni, I think everyone has a bit of, if they are from the same school or they came from the same background, they're willing to hear you out. So they're not going to respond to you immediately. But I think it just takes patience and the right attitude. If you reach out more often than not, most people will respond back.
Well, on my part, I'll say it's somewhat a similar story to Komal. But one key point that I would want to highlight for the folks who have joined us today is, there is a tough love that you get from the MBA program, because the emphasis is on networking, right? And kind of reaching out there, speaking to the folks that who you would want to work with, as opposed to kind of being spoon fed with some companies that show up on day zero, day one, day two, and so on and so forth. Now this is a life skill, and I'm telling you from experience, networking is a life skill. This is what kind of takes you up the ladder once you get into a global MNC, because once you get into an organization, there is no campus placement. So you need to speak to the people, and you need to find your ways. So for me, my first job after the MBA is also my current job. I've been with the same company for now close to 7 years, and the way I got my job was, I was erstwhile there used to be a club called the Industry Club, which I think now has transformed to the Marketing Club, and I used to be the president for that club. And as part of our activities, I had called an acquaintance who used to work with UPS in Hong Kong back then, and that's how I made a connection. And he passed my resume over to the folks at UPS in Singapore, and that led to interviews, and I joined the company, and have been here ever since.
Interesting. Mushid?
Right. So I was helped by the then head of career services in terms of providing a referral to the partner at Grace Park, which is on Restaurant after the MBA, and I managed to land my interview, and I got through. And subsequently, I think for my business, when I've been working with FinTech Asia, the MBA office and the career services team have been very helpful in bridging, connecting me to different organizations they needed, engaging me, involving me from an entrepreneurial perspective or company perspective. We had that slide around, where the MBA students had provided research internships. They provided research in terms of FinTech Asia, but there was more a collaboration that they provided help to our business as well, right? So that's where that came from. But in addition to that, during my MBA, we had very strong mentors who were there to support us in terms of an understanding of where we want a career to go. One small tip on this, and I'm overreaching my remit here, but when you look at the career services, when you look at the mentors, they're all there to support you, right? However, do not assume that they're going to get you the job, largely because they're there to open the doors for you, and they do that in a very highly efficient manner, introducing you with the partners to to large senior management people and dedicated mentoring teams. But it's down to you about persistence. Doesn't mean you have to do well in your interviews. You have to show that you are well prepared, right? Just because you got an introduction doesn't mean you get a job. One key thing to remember about Hong Kong, it is the number one financial center for Asia and top 3 in the world, right? And similarly for many other fields. So there is a significant talent, at least at our time, which was all fighting to come into Hong Kong, which is the best of the best, not just from the region, but also from US, etc., who had a very keen interest in coming and working in Hong Kong. So it doesn't mean there's no opportunity. In my opinion, the next 1 year, once China opens up very soon, will actually increase the opportunity for people studying in Hong Kong to get jobs. But it also means if you want really good jobs, you'll have to be competitive. And remember, you're joining a top school doesn't mean it just offers you a job as a result. You're the same when we were dealing with our colleagues in LBS or classmates in LBS. They were also not just like, oh, we'll get a job. They also had to fight and compete because these are lucrative jobs that can be very significant in changing your career, both financially and overall. But it is important that you are quite actively aware that this is not a cakewalk and you have to put in effort.
That's very valid advice. The career services is there to support you, open doors for you, but you have to make a fight for it. You have to be competitive as well and show your value to the recruiters. With that, unfortunately, we are over time. I know there are lots of questions which have come in. A lot of questions which I'm seeing are profile specific or relevant to the person who's asking that question. So my request to you all whose questions that we are leaving unanswered today is to reach out to the school directly, possibly write to Renee and her team and get answers to your queries. Renee, any email address or any specific place where they can channel their queries to?
Yes, there is. Very simple. If you Google HKU MBA, you will be able to find our website, and then there is an email over there. And then I can try to type it in the chat box as well while everyone wrapped up and before we say goodbye.
Sure, that would be great. In the meanwhile, any parting advice from Vibhav, Komal, Mushir to the audience? A lot of them may be early in their journey. They may be just starting on their MBA journey. So any advice on how important is GMAT, how to make a great application, anything broad advice that they should focus on?
I think, I will just say that, in terms of preparation, etc., I think there is a lot of advice that's out there. So, just choose whatever works best for you. My comment will only be that, when you are choosing an international program, it is a long-term investment that you're making on your life and your career, and, which will kind of keep, giving you dividends along the way. It's been 7 years and, we are still connected to the program. That's because, we see value in being connected to the program. I am currently leading the alumni chapter for HKU MBA here in Singapore. And, we have a bunch of alumni who are willing to connect and contribute towards your sort of professional growth. And I think that's ultimately you are investing in your alumni network, the access to the alumni network that you get, which for me was a crucial piece of decision.
I think one very important thing is don't, when you do your interviews or write things, be authentic, be yourself. Don't try to write what you think someone wants to read, write what you really are about, and that would probably go a long way. You have to tell your story. We still, even post the MBA, we've all been connected. I still talk to people when they come to London, or we try and meet up. And I think it's that aspect that you don't see as immediate returns. You will only see it, 5, 10, 15 years down the line. If I have something, I could probably give Vibhav or Mushir a call one day and be like, oh, can I help? Or do you know someone in Singapore or Dubai, wherever you're based, and can you connect me? And I think that's when, people have moved around globally from when my classmates were back in Hong Kong to all different parts of the world now. And to still be able to stay connected, I think that was one big thing. It's like a big global family, and you'll only see that years down the line. You're not going to be able to see that right out of your MBA or even a year out of your MBA, when you'll see, oh, can I just move continents? But when people are now moving continents and jobs and families, we still have an alumni chapter in different continents that's active. It's quite easy to connect and get them in touch with, how they can settle in a new country.
From my side, just to supplement what Vibhav and Komal have said, this is a very important part of your life journey, right? The amount of money you're going to spend, which is pretty standard for most MBA programs, or actually in the lower end of MBA programs, given as a one-year program, is important, right? So make a decision based on what your goals are. Do research. Don't just assume anything. That was my lesson or learning during the MBA was I should have done XYZ beforehand, right? Talk to as many people as possible. LinkedIn is a lot more active now than it was previously. Most HKU MBA alums are very active on LinkedIn and responsive as well, right? We get reached out as by a bunch of people who are applying, then happy to answer questions that are relevant, right? So you should do your research, figure out what you want to do a research on the job market in Hong Kong, but also be aware of your options outside of that from a work perspective, right? Where do you want to go? What is happening in the work? And as Komal rightly said, the true value of the MBA network comes in over 5 to 7 years time, right? And you will realize that. So, building that is going to be one of the high values that you get. The academic part is the academic part, right? That's not where we all learn and we move on, but learning, interacting with people is important. And the exchange was extremely valuable for us. My LBS network, as would be the case for all three of us, has been superlative, in addition to, of course, the HKU MBA network. And we've leveraged quite a bit of that as well. So you have big advantage of looking at global MBA that gives you an opportunity to be not just in Asia, but in Europe or in the US. And so it's a great opportunity, but be thorough and detailed. This is not just let's do a small 3-month course, which costs small amount of money. This is a life-changing event. So pay attention to it and don't be rushed into taking those decisions, towards June, July next year.
Great. So that's great advice. Make informed decisions. And these sessions that we do are especially for that. Gives you an opportunity to candidate where you connect with alumni like Vibhav, Mushir, and Komal, and Renee, of course, get information about their programs, about the experience, and then make informed choices about your career paths and your MBA journey as well. With that, let me wrap up this session. We have posted the email address to connect with the HKU team in the chat window. It's there for you. You can also go to the website, get information over there, or try connecting with the three of them over LinkedIn and ask them your queries as well, or connect with other HKU alumni as well. So thank you to the audience for attending this session. Thank you for being a patient audience. Thank you, Komal, Vibhav, Mushir, Renee, for doing this. This has been extremely insightful and informative, and I'm quite sure the audience would benefit from this. So thank you again for taking out the time.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night, those of you who are in Hong Kong or Asia, and elsewhere of the world. Have a good day. Great. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.